What's up guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be delivering a highly requested recipe for you guys. In this video, I'm going to be sharing my delicious and mouth-watering recipe for these cassava and egg balls. Now, cassava and egg balls is a Guyanese street food. It's something that's very easy to eat on the go, and it's a handheld snack food. Now, this is something you could eat for breakfast, you could eat it for lunch, you could maybe have 2 or 3 of them for dinner, or you could just have it as a snack. So these are basically just a hard-boiled egg stuffed into a seasoned cassava mixture. It's rolled into a ball and then it is fried. This is one of the most delicious things that I have ever had and that I have ever made, yet it is so simple and quick to make. To begin these cassava and egg balls, what I'm going to start off by doing is preparing my boiled eggs. You want to make sure to do the boiled eggs first, so this way you can get these out of the way and have them waiting. So this way when your cassava mixture is done, all you have to do is start rolling and frying, and the process is going to go very quick from there. So all you're going to do is add your eggs into the pot. You're going to cover them with some cool water, and then we're going to head on over to the stove. Once you've covered those eggs with that cool water, what you're going to go ahead and do is put it on your heat or your flame, and you're going to put it on a very high heat. Now what you're going to do is you're going to cover it and allow this to come up to a rolling boil. Once you get this to come up to a very vigorous boil, you're going to leave that cover on, you're going to turn off the heat, and you're going to allow it to sit on that same hot surface for about 7 minutes exactly, depending on the size of your eggs. I'm using very large eggs here, so I'm going to do 7 minutes. If you're using smaller eggs, maybe do like 6 minutes. This is going to give you the perfect boiled egg, and it's going to give you an egg that does not have that little green ring around the yolk when you cut it open. Now what I'm doing is I'm shocking them or stopping that cooking process so this way they do not overcook. So in my bowl here, I have some ice that I've covered with some water. You want to get some really cold water to stop that cooking process, and you're going to add all of those eggs in. Once you've shocked your eggs and you've allowed them to cool down in that ice water, you can drain off all of that ice water and it's time to peel them. Now doing that with the ice water also allows them to peel much better because it allows the actual shell of the egg to separate from that egg flesh. So the way I like to peel my egg is I like to knock it against my counter on all sides. And once you get it all cracked up, what you're going to go ahead and do is roll it with the palm of your hand on your counter or on a board or whatever surface you want to do that on. And once you do that, you're going to see that it shatters all around the edges. And all you want to do is work your finger all the way around and try to get all of that shell off. Now sometimes it comes off a little cleaner, sometimes it'll come off in these little fragments as it did here, but nonetheless, as long as you follow all of those simple steps, you shock it in that cold water and you roll it against the counter like I had done, you're going to get that perfect egg and you're not going to have any of that flesh peel off with the actual shell. So at this point, we're going to move on to making the actual cassava mixture that's going to encase those boiled eggs. So in my pot here, I added in some cool water and then I added in my cassava pieces. Now cassava is also known as yuca. It's a root vegetable and it has a very different texture than potato. It's very gummy, it's very gluey almost, but it's a great texture. I love it and I love the taste of cassava. So all you want to do is peel your cassava. If you're using the fresh one, you want to cut it into, uniform pieces so this way they can all boil evenly. Today I'm cheating, I'm using the frozen one just because I couldn't find any good looking cassava in the grocery store. If you use the frozen one, it's so much easier. All you do is take it right out of the freezer and put it in your water, allow it to come up to a boil. Allow it to boil until it is fork tender. Basically that means when you put a fork into it, the fork goes through perfectly without too much give. So my cassava is done, and I just wanted to mention that the cooking time is going to be different for everybody. As you guys can see, my cassava pieces were very big. That's because the frozen cassava that I bought just had very big chunks. So mine took about 15 minutes to cook. It might take you less time, it might take you more time. It also depends on the maturity of the actual root. Sometimes it boils faster than other times. Sometimes it'll take much longer to boil. So as you guys can see, I stuck my fork through it and it went through perfectly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drain this and I'm going to add them into a bowl and we're going to move on to the next step of the process. Alright guys, so in my bowl here I have all of that boiled cassava that I drained off, so it's fully cooked. And what I want to do now is get rid of those little stringy membranes that are in the middle of the cassava root. If anybody has ever had cassava or yuca, you know what I'm talking about. When you split the middle open, you're going to see these little strings and they're very hard and woody strings that you cannot bite through. So I like to remove them. As you guys can see, I have removed all of those stringy membranes from the middle of the cassava and it's time to go ahead and start mashing. So I'm going to take my potato masher and I'm just going to start mashing away. Basically, you want to get this pretty smooth. You don't want too many chunks. I know when some people make cassava balls, they like a lot of chunk in it. I personally don't. I like it to be pretty mashed up. I also will recommend to do it very smooth because it does help you when you're rolling the balls. Sometimes when you have the chunks in there, it makes it break and it makes it all crackly on the edges and it doesn't make for a good presentation. So also while you're mashing it, you want to add in a little bit of salt and some pepper to taste. Be mindful because we did add salt in while it was boiling, so you don't want to add in too much. Once you've mashed all of that cassava and it resembles mashed potatoes, it is time to go in with those delicious seasonings. So I'm going in with some finely chopped garlic, I'm going in with some thinly sliced cilantro or bandanya. I'm also going in with some scallions that are thinly sliced, and I'm going in with some finely chopped hot pepper. Now, I love my food spicy, so I'm adding in a good amount of hot pepper, but you can gauge it as per your own taste. And I want to mention that the cilantro is not traditional to the traditional cassava balls. The traditional way, I think, is just straight up hot pepper and garlic. Some people I see will add the scallions, but everybody has their own way of making things. I just really love seeing those nice green flecks in there. And if you use a red or an orange pepper, you get those beautiful red or orange flecks throughout the cassava balls as well. So once you add all of those in, you're going to go in with some clean hands and you're going to mix away. Once you've mixed all of those seasonings well throughout the cassava with your hands, it's time to just give it a little taste. So I just took a little pinch of it, I tasted it, and you want to make sure it has enough salt, enough hot pepper, garlic, all of those other seasonings as per your taste. Now, if you need to gauge it, just chop up a little more of a certain ingredient and add it in. And now we're going to start rolling the cassava balls. In order to roll the cassava balls, it's actually very simple. All you're going to do is take a nice handful of that cassava mixture. And what I find is easiest to do is say you are making 10 cassava balls, which I did today. That means you're using 10 eggs. So what you're going to have to do is take that cassava mixture and split it into 10 equal portions. That'll ensure that you get a nice equal amount of cassava on each cassava ball, and this way you don't run out or have too much left over. So as you guys can see, I took that handful of the cassava mixture, I just spread it out in my fingers, I rolled it out nice and thin, and then I put my egg in and I started to enclose it all inside of the cassava mixture. And as you guys can see, I'm just fixing any cracks and I'm rolling it out into my hand until I get a nice smooth ball. Using the cassava is very forgiving because the cassava is so much like a dough, and a very thick dough at that, that you can fix all of the little edges and keep rolling it until you mold it into the shape that you want. Okay guys, we are almost at the grand finale and ready to eat these cassava balls. All we have to do is bread them and fry them at this point. So I know a lot of people, when they make cassava balls or aloo balls or whatever type of fritter almost, they will make a very thin batter and coat it and then fry it. However, my family and I, we do not like the batter at all. I personally think it's a no-no because it makes it super, super oily. I don't know what it is in the batter, but once you put it into the oil, it really just sucks up all that oil, and I'm not a fan of it. I really like to enjoy my cassava balls. I don't like to feel very heavy as I'm eating them. So what I like to do, and what my grandmother finds is very useful, is just to dust it in a little bit of dry flour. So I have my oil heating up on a medium-high heat. You want to make sure to keep it regulated so you do not burn the outside of those cassava balls. But once it comes up to temperature and it's nice and hot, you're going to go in with your breaded cassava balls. I think I can fit about 2 in my pan, so that's what I'm going to do. But if you have a bigger pan, you could fit more. If you have a smaller pan, you might only be able to do 1 at a time. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow it to cook on this one side for about a minute or 2 until it's golden brown. Then I'm going to flip it and allow it to cook on the other side for about another 2 to 3 minutes or 1 to 2 minutes, just until the whole surface is golden brown. So I have a plate here that I've lined with some paper towels, and my cassava balls are done. They've been cooking in the pan now for about 4 to 5 minutes. You just want to make sure to get all of those sides nice and golden brown, as I said before. And they're ready to serve after that. Okay guys, so the moment of truth is here. Once you go ahead and finish frying all of those cassava balls, it's time to dig in and start to eat. I like mine nice and warm, right out of the hot oil, but you can eat these at room temperature too if you'd like. So all I've done is I've cut it open. It's very crispy and nice and flaky on the outside because of that all-purpose flour. That's something that you would not get with the batter because over time the batter actually makes it soggy if you let it sit. And at this point, we're just going to go ahead and douse it with my sauces of choice. Now, if you want to, you could put tamarind sour on this, which is the same as like a tamarind sauce or tamarind chutney, which I'm doing right here. You could also do some pepper sauce, which I'm also going to put on here. And you could also do some mango sour. I think the most popular one is mango sour or mango chutney, but I did not have any on hand. I had the tamarind sour on hand. So nonetheless, I'm going to give this a try and tell you guys what I think. Alright guys, so I have my cassava and egg ball here. And I just want to show you guys what this bad boy looks like. It looks so good, guys. crispy on the outside. I've got that tamarind sauce and I've got some pepper sauce on it. I'm gonna go ahead and give it a taste for you guys now. Gonna have to go ahead and use a fork for this because it's gonna be a little messy. So you wanna make sure you get a piece of the cassava, you wanna get some of the pepper sauce, the tamarind, piece of that egg most importantly. You guys, this is so good. I promise you guys, this is so much better than those West Indian bakeries. I always say whenever you guys make things at home and make them homemade with the fresh ingredients, it is so delicious. Super crispy on the outside, nice and spicy, and fresh with all of the cilantro in there, the scallions, the hot pepper. Good stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish this up. Meanwhile, I hope you guys are headed to your kitchen to go ahead and give this recipe a try. I hope you guys subscribe to my channel if you're not subscribed yet. Give this video a nice big thumbs up and leave those beautiful comments on below. I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys.